No, no. So generally, most tenants are going to have their own contractor, and I stay out of that
Yeah.
part of the equation because there's
Right.
too many things that can happen there with them saying you didn't do this or that, and so I just give them a tenant allowance and I let them do their own thing and hire their own contractors and handle that.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So when I
Interesting.
say build to suit, I'm not going to do it for them. When I say build to suit, it's kind of they'll build it to suit their own needs. So
Right.
build to suit generally means the owner will build what you want, but I stay out of the equation.
Yeah.
I'm not in that business anymore. So both, so I do residential. I still flip houses. My wife loves to do that. So if a good deal comes along, I'll buy it and I turnkey outsource it all. I've got contractors and I let them handle it. My wife likes to pick stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. I'll do infill development where I'll tear something down and build residential back in its place.
Right.
Or spec houses. I still build spec houses, but I do that with other contractors turnkey. They supply everything. And then I do commercial, like I'll build buildings like this ground up. I'll build strip centers ground up. I'll build multifamily ground up.
Yeah.
So I'm working on some deals all throughout the Southeast for some ground up opportunity zone projects. But again, it's not me literally physically doing everything. Now I do visit every site. So that's why I'm on the road every day, because I won't buy, well, I will buy stuff sight unseen, but if I'm going to develop a project, at some point I'm putting feet on the ground,
Yeah.
bend down, grab the dirt, smell it, feel the area out. Before I close, I go put boots on the ground and I feel that area out. I have bought residential sight unseen because that's not that critical, but for
Right.
commercial, I want to know what's surrounding the area. What do the rooftops look like? What do the demographics look like? What kind of feel do you get? Is the area in transition? Is it on the back end of that? Is it coming around? So, you can Google map a lot of things, but they're not really up to date. So I
Yeah.
love to be boots on the ground with stuff. So those, again, I'm at the point in my life where I can do whatever I want.
Mm.
So I like to do a lot of different things. And, these days, if you're going to be narrowly focused in the type of real estate you're investing in, then you have to be broad in your geography.
Yeah.
If you're broad in terms of the types of things you invest in, the expand. So I've operated in, so I do, all the different types of commercial real estate. And a lot of people confuse type and class. Real estate is an asset class. Then there's type. There's 6 types of real estate within that asset class. Just like cash is an asset class, gold is an asset class, stocks. So the types of real estate are, office, retail, hospitality, industrial, multifamily, and land. Those are the 6 types of commercial real estate. Within those types, you have your class A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
And you can say F, some stuff, but it's really A, B, C, D. So I have a broad geography, so I have a broad type of real estate and businesses that I invest in. But if I was, well, actually, my geography is kind of narrow because I stay in the Southeast. Now, if I was going just multifamily, you're going to have to go to the country. If that's all you want to do is multifamily, you have to open up your geography.
Right.
So that's kind of why I am the way I am. I've always been limited to this region. I really like this region. So I've broadened the types of things that I invest in so that I can kind of stay just in this little short region. Yeah. So, I say whatever's working for you and you have opportunity to scale, do more of it and scale. But you're going to reach a point in diminishing returns a lot of times in flipping houses.
Yeah.
There's just only so many of those you're going to do in your area, but you can go pretty far with it, right? So for me, I maxed out with what I was doing in my area. So I wanted to grow. So I had to do other things. And, I'm a little adult ADD, right? So I like to stay busy and do different things. I've got a lot of energy and I love to help people. I love to get involved, build businesses, build companies. But for some people, I tell them, hey, for everybody, I say, whatever you're doing right now that's working, double down on that, do the most of it you can, grow and scale that. And then look to invest those profits into other things that don't require your time, energy, and effort exponentially, right?
Right.
So that's what you want to do. So I think that's great for people that can multitask, because you what you really should be looking to do is build your flipping business and scale that through others. Then you can go start another business. So if you look at Amazon, Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, Sam Walton. They aren't singularly focused on one thing. You can say one was with the retail, but man, he was all over the country, opening stores everywhere. So he wasn't doing just one thing in one area. Warren Buffett's got hundreds of companies, right? So it all depends on your capacity, your abilities, and your skills. So if you are wired as such a way that you're a leader, delegator, motivator, then you can have a number of things going on through others. Richard Branson, Mark Cuban. So, I mean, when you look at the great leaders of our industry today and in the business world, very few of them are singularly focused on one thing.
Right.
So that is a limiting rule that works for a lot of people, because a lot of people just don't have that ability to multitask, and they don't have the ability to lead and delegate and do all that. So I think if you got to understand yourself, what your strengths and weaknesses are, focus on your strengths, go with your strengths, hire out your weaknesses. Don't even try to develop your weaknesses. Hire that out. Find out what it is you're at, scale that, stick with that, and do that. So I don't know if that answers the question. So that model's changed. So back in the day, pre-2009, the production builders were speccing. They were going out and developing neighborhoods without a sale.
Right.
That model has shifted. Very few of them are doing that now. They might be one or two houses ahead of the contracts, but generally all of their deals are structured. So if you're a land developer like me and you go buy raw land, you turn it into lots and sell it to a regional or national home builder, they're only going to take down a few, and then they're only going to buy as they sell. So they all learned their lesson, during 2009. So that's kind of how you're operating. So we're not seeing a huge inventory of new construction. You're seeing stuff selling as it's getting built. So, and the home builders are doing well. Interest rates are low. So, population's growing. So things in that regard. In the commercial sector, it's a little bit different. So the commercial, those deals are multi-year deals where, some of these commercial projects and the cranes that you see in the air, those projects 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Yeah. So they are so far along, it doesn't matter. They've got to pull the trigger and they got to go. So Hudson Yards in New York, for instance, there was an article recently about Hudson Yards that, this place is millions of square foot of office, hundreds of thousands of square foot of retail, tons of residential vacant in New York that was just built. This thing is, $400 or $500 million project sitting there vacant, nobody using it, right? Because the everything was baked in, the fees were already there, the money was already being lent, so they had to go. So I think you're going to see there's a lot of commercial speculation out there that I think you're going to see come home to roost, just like we did in 2009. I'm really family sector where with short-term interest-only loans, that was the same residential setup we had in pre-2009. Everybody in the residential game were doing short-term interest-only loans, banking on a sale. So a lot of these multifamily deals that are being taken down are being done with a 5-year interest only, with no permanent back end beyond that, and banking on being able to refinance or sell at the end of that 3 to 5 year period. So if you're going to do an interest only, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you have a ceiling on it, and make sure you still have a permanent conversion, to a longer term loan at the end of that initial business plan phase. So whenever I see a deal that's being offered that doesn't have that extra component, I don't mess with it. And but that's also going to create opportunity in 3 to 5 years when they can't refinance or sell, assuming they may or may not be able to. I don't know where the economy's going, but all I know is that is a very dangerous place to be. It is to a certain degree. So industrial is a great to be in, but what you have to watch there is Amazon's building their own fulfillment centers. So, you got to think of, okay, well, who am I going to lease to? Just because the internet, world is growing, you got to think about, well, who am I going to build and who's going to be my tenant? So Amazon's building their own fulfillment centers. Walmart's doing the same thing, distribution center. Walmart has just now realized, wait a minute, so what Amazon's trying to do is they're trying to have a fulfillment center in every neighborhood so they can deliver, on demand. Right. Walmart finally realized here in the last couple of years, wait a minute, we have fulfillment centers in every neighborhood already across the country. They didn't wake up to the internet thing and to the online thing until a couple of years ago. And they're spending a lot of money, to the tune of close to $1 billion trying to rework their technology to compete with Amazon. And now Amazon's buying grocery stores. So they are creating distribution centers that way. So you're not going to lease to Amazon. They're not going to be your tenant. Walmart's not going to be your tenant. Target's not going to be your tenant. So you have to think, who is going to be my tenant? And, and it's not going to be your mom and pops, because that's all going to be drop ship. So if you're going to do industrial, you got to think about, these fulfillment centers that aren't Amazon and these other guys that are going to serve some of these smaller niches. So I'm not so sure the online retail space is in industrial right now. I think it's more seeing a lot of opportunity there. Smaller contractors, office warehouse kind of thing, flex space, those types of things. So
Interesting.
the industrial play is interesting, and some of these inland ports with the trade, and things like that in the areas that I'm in, like we have the Norfolk area where we have the port there. Up in Maryland, you have the port there. They're expanding big time in those areas. And I do have a friend who's one of the largest warehouse owners in Virginia, and what they do is they do third-party logistics, and where they're really have got a niche is in refrigerated storage. So they're going into these different locations on the truck lines and rail lines, and they're building warehouses that are refrigerated. That's kind of a neat little niche there.